Every now and again, you hear of a woman, or maybe you're even lucky enough to meet a woman in person, as I am today, that totally changes the game for women in business and indeed life. I am here with best-selling author, co-founder of Drybar, Canopy, many other businesses, a woman on a mission, Alli Webb, and let's get into it. How are you?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I am so blessed right now.
Oh, you're so
And
nice.
it's so cool because for years I've been going to Drybar, which you founded. You came up with this whole concept. And me being a businesswoman, I always think about what's happening. Like, how did this happen? How did this get here?
Yeah.
And I followed along your journey, and I've watched you just soar, evolve, change the game. And I just want to, first of all, acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
Yes. And for all of our listeners, can you just talk about, like, how the heck did this start?
Well, I mean, as you can see, because my hair is not blown out today and I have naturally curly hair, that was really like the common thread for me my whole life. I grew up in South Florida, so it was like very frizzy, um, wet climate, hot. And, I was just kind of mystified as a kid, like how do women, when I was growing up, it was like Cindy Crawford and Christy Brinkley, like those were like the supermodels and they had such great hair. And I was like, how in the world do they get their hair to look like that? And fast forward to like working as a receptionist in a hair salon, which I like completely fell in love with in high school. And, when everybody was going to college, I was kind of like, I don't really want to go to college. I hated
Yeah.
school. And I didn't know why I would go to college. Like I didn't want to do anything that they were offering in college. And, I also grew up with very liberal parents. So I wasn't like dying to like
Mm.
have the college experience because I had, my parents were so easygoing about, us drinking and going out and like finding ourselves and all of that. So it's a really long story and it will all be in my book that I'm
Yes.
working on, but which is, largely my whole life story. But, long story short, I ended up going to beauty school, fell in love with it, felt like this was like where I was meant to be. And I became a hairstylist and I moved to New York City and I worked, in one of the best hair salons in the world for a guy named John Sahag, who was like the pioneer of dry cutting. And he was just like it. He's since passed away, but anyways, I loved hair. I loved the industry.
Mm.
And I did pop around a lot as like a young 20-year-old trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I also ultimately met my ex-husband in New York City and we, got married. We ended up moving to LA because he worked in advertising and Cam, my ex-husband, is the creative, genius behind Drybar. He was a creative and that's what he did. And anyways, we met in New York. We moved to LA. I had 2 kids and I really wanted babies like for as early as I can remember. So we moved to LA. I have my first son and I was like happy as a clam. Like just life was perfect. I would spend all day with my son. I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home while Cam worked. And, I was like living the dream. And then I had my second son and it got considerably harder, with 2 kids.
Yeah.
And, and it was around the time my kids are 2 years apart. They were probably like 2 and 4. I was like, I don't know if I can go to a park one more day, And I was like, I think I need to start. And my poor ex-husband, he would come home at the end of the day and I would just be like, like
Yeah.
dying to like talk to an
Talk
adult,
to a human. Yeah.
and I just spent so much time at the park and I was running after these 2 kids and I love them. And now they're 15 and 17 and, it's crazy. But, so at the time I was just, really like yearning to do something for myself. And so at that time I decided to start a mobile blowout business and I lived in Santa Monica at the time and I knew mommies. I just knew mommies in LA because that was all I was acquainted with because I had these 2 little kids. So that was really what I was targeting was like moms. And I put up, and do you have kids?
No.
Okay. Okay. So if some moms would know this, if there's any moms listening, there used to be a Yahoo group. I mean, now I'm really dating.
Okay.
A Yahoo group that was called Peachhead, that if you posted like I need a babysitter or who's a good pediatrician or whatever you posted, like all these moms, I think it was like 5,000 moms were on this very coveted like Yahoo group. So I posted one day like I'm a stay-at-home mom, longtime hairstylist. I was thinking about starting a business where I come to your house, blow out your hair while your baby is sleeping, and I'll only charge like 35 or $40. Is anybody interested? Well, I got flooded with emails, and
Wow.
I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And I think that that was part of me also learning like how much I love marketing and just the build
Yeah.
and figuring something out.
Yeah.
So I started this business. It was called Straight at Home, and I was like running around LA with like a duffel bag in my like Nissan Xterra,
This is awesome.
doing blowouts for women when their babies were sleeping was like my pitch. And I ended up charging $40, and it was, also it was like 220s, felt easy, and I knew I didn't want it to be really expensive and like, I was like a no-name hairstylist.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just felt like I knew in LA or New York, it would cost women, upwards of 100, if not more, to get a blowout. And I was like, I think if I make it cheap, a lot more women will call me.
Totally.
And that's exactly what happened. So I, started building that business, and it was like, from the hours, like I dropped off my kids at preschool or with a nanny until like, 2 o'clock maybe. So I would do a handful of clients in that time. And then I that's all I could do. And I got really busy really fast. And it was like, there was a lot of referrals, and at $40 a pop, my name started getting thrown around a lot because they were like, this girl Alli comes over and does my blowout, and she only charges me $40, and she's really good. And
Yeah.
I am really good. So, so I was like, I'm gonna, really build a business. So I got to the point where I was like, I can't do this on my own anymore. I don't have enough bandwidth. I was starting to say no way more than I was saying yes. So I went to my brother, Michael Landau, who's my business partner, and I said, I think maybe I should turn Straight at Home, my mobile business, into a brick and mortar. And this was in 2009, I guess.
Okay.
And he was like, he's a bald guy. He's like, I don't understand.
Right.
Why can't women blow out their own hair?
Yeah. Like, what is this? It's never going to work. Did you get,
Tons of it's never going to work. And not only that, where we opened our first location in Brentwood over here, San Vicente, that whole shopping center was really dead at the time. It was like, and I remember when we did finally like get the lease and we were under construction, people who would walk, I was there constantly, and people would walk by and say like, every business that's been here has failed. And it was just like, and it was in the middle of a recession. I mean, we opened in 2010, which is a recession. And, it was just this thing that it was a flyer, it's like, does this work? Are there enough women out there that would do this? And I felt in my heart of hearts that there was, and I felt like I kind of did a little bit of like my own market research with Straight at Home, and I knew that there were women out there who were loving the service I was providing. So it was like taking that mobile business and turning it into a brick and mortar, and still keeping the pricing really low. Our big I think moment was like, if we can keep it at a price that's affordable. It was actually 35, where my mobile business was 40. And, it looks and feels really nice. And the customer service is really great. And, my brother and I grew up with, our parents had their own business. So we had that like DNA of like, really bend over backwards. Everything, the customer's always right. The customer's king, all of that inbred in us. And so, if you can get the customer service, the price is right, the ambiance and the feeling is right, and the branding and all of those things, which, I was so lucky because Cam, my ex-husband, is a genius in that department. Michael, my brother, is kind of the business side of things, and I was hair and experience. And so it really felt like the stars aligned for us to come together. And, we weren't like having to really pay ourselves, and we were just going to like give this a go and see if it worked. And that was 12 years ago. So,
oh my gosh.
Now there's like 160 locations, and there's been a big product line. We've since sold it. But it was just such a crazy like rocket that we were on.
Wow. So how many years was it like you were in it? It was growing. You have the kids, you have the.
How many years
like
has it been?
Yeah, when we were working in it, and then you see the growth of it.
Yeah, it was like, I would, so it's the first like 2 year, it was like drinking from like a hose,
Totally.
It was so crazy. The first couple of years were so insane, and we didn't really know what we were doing.
Right.
I knew the hair business pretty well.
Right.
I never run a hair salon.
Right.
I didn't know it that well.
Right.
But I'd worked in enough hair salons to know basically how it works. And I think it's funny now, because when I look back, I think about all the other jobs which I don't need to go into, but like all the other jobs that really uniquely prepared me to be at the helm of this company. I worked in PR, so I learned how to like be professional because that was the only job I ever had that I was in an office. I worked in a lot of hair salons, so I saw the owners of hair salons, how they dealt with situations and all of that. So all that stuff was just like stored up.
Yeah.
So I had a unique perspective, and I'd spent the majority of my life being obsessed with my own hair. So I knew a lot about this innately, instinctively knew a lot about this business. So, it was like crazy from the get-go. We were so busy in Brentwood. And then, by the time we started opening more and more stores, there was definitely a build. I mean, we had, we opened Brentwood. It was so busy. We were like the hot club you couldn't get into. And then we opened Studio City, and it was busy, but not that busy. And we had to really build that business. And then West Hollywood, it was the same thing. It was like busy, but it wasn't like on fire.
Right.
And so it took us a lot of time, and we started hiring more and more people. And, and that was kind of the trajectory, is like, we started, and it was really my brother's insight. He's like, we need to hire ahead of the curve. We need to hire people who are smarter than us.
Yes.
We need to hire people who know how to grow and scale a business.
Yeah.
We did not.
Right.
We had no fucking idea.
Yeah.
Like, we were clueless.
Right.
But we knew this business, and we loved it, and we knew how to make it successful. We just needed other people, like, to make sure people got paid on time, to make sure we were like doing everything legally. Like, it was just so many things and operations and systems that needed to be in place that like we didn't really know how to. And I didn't like any of that.
No.
I liked the creative part of it. I liked being in the stores, and like I could look at a woman getting a blowout and know instantly if she wasn't happy for whatever reason, and I could come in and investigate it and figure out what was going on and what was going wrong, and I could switch out the stylist if I needed to. Like, I just instinctively knew all of that. So, it was just mayhem and like controlled chaos for so many years, and it just built and built, and we kept on opening more and more because there was so much demand.
Right.
Get emails and DMs from people all over the country, all over the world, really asking us to open one. And what was also kind of fascinating is how many copycats started popping up.
Right.
And those, they weren't great. Like,
they're not
doing,
because I'm a member. Okay. So, this is really like, I preach this is, habit stacking. So I'll go get a blowout, and then I answer messages at the same time. And, or it might be a day where I just need to check out of the world, and I'll just like get my scalp massaged. But when I go to if I do go to different places, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Doesn't stay as long.
It's so fascinating because, I remember when copycats started opening up, and I was like, I was so nervous about it, and I was so scared, they were going to eat our lunch, and that was, like, oh, this is it.
Right.
And then what I quickly realized was, what I would hear from clients, like you just said, it wasn't the same, and they couldn't really pinpoint it, but I mean, I could.
Right.
It's like the lighting, we very specifically have a lot of paneling and padding in the shop that helps absorb a lot of the sound. We have mirrors because the sound from the music, the sound from the blow dryers, there's just so much sound coming at you. And then the mirrors that are behind the stations, that was like a takeaway from my mobile business, because I was always doing women's hair like in their kitchen or their living room, rarely in their personal bathroom.
Right.
So they weren't looking at a mirror. So I wanted to take away that, as women, to stare at ourselves in a mirror for 45 minutes.
I know, it's like a lot.
Yeah,
it's
you don't want to do that. You're just in your head. About,
right.
I look tired. I don't like this or whatever.
Right.
And so that was another thing that we took away. And so the copycats and the competitors never really got all of that. Which, how could they? It's like, this has been like my life's work that I'm pouring into this place. It's going to be pretty hard for you to copy that, And so we would hear time and time again from clients, like, I went to so-and-so because I couldn't get in Drybar, and it didn't last as long. It wasn't as good. They didn't treat me as well. All the things. So, we really very quickly realized we were onto something really special, and kind of kept going,
Oh, so cool. And what I think about from a leadership perspective, because I travel the world, especially in the United States speaking, and my assistants always like, found the Drybar, like I was in New York. It's right here. It's in Nordstrom. We got you, blah, blah, blah. It's just a thing, And I always think about, I'm like, it's like top down. I'm like, the girl in the front is like handling me so well. I think of the leadership and how how did you know, or did you get help to train the staff? Because I've been to enough of them where it's consistent. They're consistently awesome women or men that are doing my hair.
Yeah.
But the way I'm getting checked out, it's consistently great. It's like so consistent. Do I need any of my travel products? Which, by the way, I love my hairspray. And, you know,
Yeah.
and so I think of that. How did you embed your culture? It seems like your culture is so well embedded in this company.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And it's probably like the bane of my existence because, but you know, like you said, it is top down, and that's so much how we think of it. And I think because of our, you know, bend over backwards mentality to our customers and to the staff, you know, it's like that you can't fake that, you can't phone that in. And so, you know, for us it was like when I would, you know, go into a store, you know, or when it first started, I was in the store all the time, and it's like the way I treated customers and the way I treated, you know, anybody who worked with us was like the way I wanted everybody to treat everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is why, you know, you hear so many businesses, it's like, how is the leadership? And are you the kind of person as a founder or boss or leader, or whatever, like that will go and clean the toilets and the floors? Like I was, you know, I did, there was no job beneath me. There was no job beneath me. That mentality permeates through an organization. And of course, like we did tons of things to like perpetuate that culture. And, you know, the other thing about the salon world is that it's historically pretty like cutthroat,
Right.
eat what you kill. Everyone's working for themselves.
Totally.
With Drybar, it was more like, you know, we're all in this together.
That's the feeling I get.
Yeah. And it's like, the idea is like everyone's working together, and it is like everyone's paid hourly. So you're making your tips and you should be working really hard for those, but everyone is like helping out. Everyone's cleaning together. And, you know, and we would always give the managers like a stipend of like, here's X amount of money for you to do whatever you want with your staff. So if you're having a really hard day or it's really hot out or whatever, and you want to get everybody like, you know, Jamba Juice, which doesn't exist anymore. But, you know, just whatever you can do, like keep morale up and keep people happy. And the other thing about that is, I think a good manager, in my experience, like will understand and get into it with all their different employees. Like, because some employees want, you know, a pat on the back. Some want a raise. Some want to like go do a product shoot. Some want to do editorial, like whatever it is. Like if your manager is really aware of what you want to do, what makes you happy, what keeps you motivated, and it's not always money, then, you know, making sure that everyone kind of has their needs met and feels heard and seen. All of those things. It's not just one thing, right? It's like all of these things that I'm talking about, you know, really contribute to how a store feels when you actually walk in and you're like, you just feel really good, you know, and it's because of like a million little things before you walked in the door, you know. And of course we don't always get it right. And of course we have like a grumpy person, you know, and you know, real life happens, but generally I think that, you know, we've been able to have such a strong impact where you feel that way because of like all of these little things.
So do you like put that in a handbook? Do you like do an onboarding thing?
You know, I think somebody made a handbook at some point, but, you know, because I remember when we, you know, started to bring in people to like implement and to put, because you have to do a certain amount of handbooks for franchises, things that you have to do, not my area. Lots of strengths and weaknesses. Like nobody wants me putting together a handbook. But it is, I do largely inform it. You know, I mean, I think there were like, I wonder if I could find these old videos. At one point, I was so frustrated because I have such high standards. When I would walk into a Drybar and I wasn't like immediately greeted the way I wanted to be greeted. So I made a video that I had like, you know, I think I made Cam, I told Cam at the time, I was like, either I'm going to make this video and it's going to be a shitty iPhone video, or you're going to film this and we're going to do it, but I'm putting it out there. And I made a video of like what a receptionist, or AKA bartender as we call them, should and should not be doing. And it was like, I'm not an actress, but I was like, you know, behind the front desk on my cell phone, like chewing gum, like, you know, 1 minute, you know, just being a jerk and being like what I didn't want our people to be, you know. And it was just like, there were those times where it was hard to teach, you know, it's like, it's hard to teach like kindness and general
class and grace and
hard to teach
emotional intelligence.
And you can, and there are certainly people who are willing and like are hungry for the information. And then there's just people that have never been treated that way themselves,
Right.
that it's just a foreign concept. So, you know, it's a lot of like figuring out who to hire. Also, I'm a big believer in like, you know, hire fast, fire fast. If it's not working, it's not working.
That's
and, like,
right.
You can't, sometimes you just can't make it work. And, you know, there's a lot of laws that make that hard.
For sure.
But yeah, you know, so the culture is a big thing. And, you know, and I think it goes like this, and over the years, like, you know, sometimes it feels great. Ultimately, like it was always the thing that like got me the most, like my biggest pain point, the thing that kept me up at night. However, when I would bring it up in board meetings, which I would bring it up a lot, you know, it's like the data, which is like also a term that like I don't really give a shit about, but like the data will show you, because you know that we do the surveys after you leave and ask you how things are. And the data was always like, it was like 1% of clients were unhappy. And, you know, I don't know how many we do now, but at the time we were doing like over 1 million blowouts a year. So 1% is a pretty still big number. It's 100,000 people. To me, it's like, it's so many people. They're not in the big picture. But I'd still get stuck on that number, and I'd still just be beating that drum. And, you know, but we had so many fish to fry. It's like, you know, and that was like another thing. It was just building this business and just so much to do and so little bandwidth. It's crazy.
So, oh my gosh, this is so inspiring. And your excellence, like I truly believe has made this company, because having that attitude of caring, of intricate detail. I mean, from like a brand perspective, even the branding, it's so tight. It's so tight. And so many people that I work with, they're either doing personal brands, trying to come up with a company. Like, was that your vision of like, here's the book, here's the different blowouts, here's the coloring, here's the vibe, here's them. Even when I'm sitting there, it's like, there's a fun old movie on that kind of puts me in a mood, right? Like, you know, how, was that you? Was that the team?
Well, I mean, it was the team. A lot of it was me, you know. I mean, I knew that I wanted this business to, I mean, I think the business was largely a reflection of my personality. I'm not sure everybody who knows me would agree with that, but like sunny, happy, bright. And it was a California brand. And what Cam, my ex-husband, did so brilliantly was when we were concepting this idea for Drybar, he looked around at what other hair salons were doing, and they're all like black and white and dark and smoky and like, blah, you know? And not that it's always bad, but we wanted something completely different. And he was like, this is your baby, this is your idea. It should, you know, be a reflection of you. And, you know, so the yellow and the bright and happy and sunny is like when we were working with our architect, Josh Heitler, who's amazing. You know, I pulled pictures and things that I love, like, you know, like these really beautiful marble bathrooms. And I pulled a lot of pictures, like a lot of French inspiration. I mean, it's amazing it came out as good as it did, because I would like give him something super modern and then like a French bourgeois, and I'd be like, make this work, you know. But again, it points back to why it's important to have people who are better at things that.
That's right.
And I don't know anything about architecture. I'm not an interior designer. I have like, I think I know what I like. But it was Josh who really like was able to pull it all together. You know, Cam kind of came up with the branding, and he was working on the website, and I knew what I wanted. I felt really strongly about naming all the hairstyles after drinks, which my brother, which is always just like now a joke, my brother thought it was like cheesy, and he was like, women are not going to do this. I'm like, yes, they are. They're going to sit in a chair and they're going to be like, I'm going to have the Cosmo, I'm going to have the tie, and women loved it.
We love it.
Women would love it. And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, trust me on this one. So, you know, and I also knew that like, you know, the Cosmo, which was like lots of loose curls, and the Mai Tai beachy wave, or the Manhattan super streak was different than the straight up, which was straight, but and I knew that like they would be timeless and they would survive the trends. You know, it's like, of course, like there's so many trends that happen in hair, but just like fashion, like all kind of comes full circle. And like, I remember, you know, I mean, obviously like the whole world is obsessed with Kim Kardashian and what she does with her hair. And, you know, she went through a phase where she was like doing that, like, you know, like the Marilyn brushed waves together. So we did add a style that was like that, because I was like, I think this is like kind of here to stay, because it is old. She brought it back into new. And so that was always my, like, I want things to feel like timeless and classic, and then we can build around it and do whatever to make it feel more modern. That's another part of the business that feel so proud of is that we would teach these hairstyles. Like, you need to be able to execute all of these, but on all different hair types and textures and whatever. And you can add your own like flair. You can
Yes.
make it look and feel the way you want it to, but here's the basics. And so a client like you might, get a Cosmo that looks a little different from that stylist versus this stylist, but you're like, I kind of like them.
That's what's fun about it.
It's great about it.
Yeah.
So all of the little touch points that you see in the shop, like the charging stations for the iPhones, and like the movies were my idea, but the charging stations were my brother's idea. And like, we all kind of like brainstormed this for a long time to figure out like, how do we make this experience like awesome for women?
So cool.
And it was like, and the price is right. The customer service is great. You're treated really well. It's like your hair looks amazing. And really like, and I'm sure you experienced this too, which was a little bit of a surprise to me. I mean, I knew women loved getting blowouts, but we would see women come in, and you still, if you were to sit in Drybar all day today, you would see this. A woman comes in, her hair is like in a bun, she's wearing a hat, very serious, like, a little grumpy.
Right.
And when she walks out, there's this like visible stuff, and she's stuff in every.
That's me sometimes. Yeah.
And it's like it's an instant confidence builder.
Oh, it's so cool.
We figured that out pretty soon too, and like very quickly our internal mantra became, we're not just selling blowouts, we're selling the happiness and confidence that comes with that blowout, and that's that was really why it worked. Selling confidence.
Wow. Kudos to you. This is so inspiring. How hard was it? Like, I can be a control freak sometimes. So how hard was it to, like the only way to go up is to hire a team and to outsource? Like, was it hard for you to do that?
Very.
Okay.
Very. I mean, so hard. And what's funny now is my new husband is a coach. He coaches founders and entrepreneurs. And it's just so ironic because I remember when like friends of mine, because all of my friends are founders of other businesses. And I think it was my friend Ellen Bennett, who has the company Headley and Bennett, the aprons.
Yeah.
She was on my podcast, which we don't have anymore, and she was telling us that she hired a coach. And I was like, for what? Like, why? And she was like, well, because it's really helping me like manage, and she's CEO and and I was like, I don't know,
Right.
And it's funny when I met Adrian and he's a coach, and I was like, it's kind of like hocus pocus, like this bullshit that you do.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, which I'm, went over really well. But now I obviously know what he does. And, and it's so brilliant and it's so smart. And I realized that would have been so helpful to me. I would say around like year 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Like, it just was so overwhelming. I was just so mad all the time at so many things because we were bringing in other people. We brought in a professional CEO, and we brought in a head of retail. We brought in this whole big, like, level of executives.
Right.
And, in their defense, they were hired to do a job and they were doing it. For me, it was like, why are you not talking to me about every single decision you're making?
Yeah, like, hello.
Yeah. But I also realized that like I needed to let people go and do their own thing. And what I needed to do was to get clear about what was important to me, what was like not important to me, what was like, go run with this, and say to whomever was in charge of whatever division, like, hey, this piece of it is really important to me, so let's make sure we're talking about this. Like, I mean, now that language sounds so easy, but I didn't have that language.
Right.
And being with Adrian and learning from him, and I was such an avoider. I was such an avoider.
Yeah.
But I would go and bitch to my brother.
Right.
Poor brother. I'd be like, what the fuck is she doing? What? I was so mad.
Yeah.
But I didn't have like the language to go and like have the conversation. I just avoided it.
Yeah.
I would just be pissy and mad.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And so it was tough. And John Hefner, who was our CEO for a long time, who had worked in like founder run organizations before, when he came in, he very much helped me start to like be like, Alli, you got it, because I would also like walk into the stores and lose my shit.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't greeted the way I wanted to be. The music wasn't loud enough. The floorboards were dirty. Like, so for me, it was like going into Drybar was almost more painful than it was enjoyable, because I would be like assaulted with all the things that weren't exactly the way I wanted them. For you, you probably didn't notice, and you were just happy to be there, which is great. But for me, I was like, these are the little things that we have to make sure we're getting right, because eventually our clients will start to notice. And, and John really kind of helped me, get a little bit of a perspective on that. But it was hard. And so it was really hard as we grew. there was so much tension and
Yeah.
so much friction between, you know, me and our like executive team, that, you know, I don't know that I ever really got right.
Yeah.
And I think if I were to do it again, I would do it a little differently in that part, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard.
It feels like just through watching some of your journey, there's like a lightness about you now.
There is.
I mean, I've just like, you know, we all grow through things, and I deeply resonated with you on Lauren's Skinny Confidential podcast, and you just were so open. And this is something I just like mad respect for you, because you've built not only one business, lots of businesses. You've done a lot, but you're so humble and you're an honest woman. And I listened to a podcast. But it's just, it takes a lot to die to your ego every day. And you can tell you really want to help. And I listened to you, and you talked about the transition of your marriage and really finding love again. And after I listened to your whole story, you know, as this public woman has gone through all this and founded a company with your ex, all the things, raising the kids, going through the life, I literally had to go lay on the grass. And it was just like my heart was swelling. Sweet. I felt like so grateful for that. Would you like talk a little bit about that transition in life and what that's been like? Because
I mean, I'm touched that it hit you. And, you know, I did hear a lot of stories like that after the podcast with Lauren. And, you know, I don't know why I have felt compelled to be so open and public about all this stuff. And I think it's because of stories like this. And I, you know, got flooded with stories like this after that podcast. And anytime I've been on a podcast where I'm talking about that stuff, you know, it's like, so obviously we just talked about all the Drybar stuff we built, you know, and what I found was, you know, I got married when I was 27, I was pretty young. And, you know, Cam and I immediately had children, and then we had Drybar. And so our whole lives were wrapped around our children and Drybar. And I knew it wasn't right. And I knew I knew it wasn't right in terms of like, you know, we weren't like, or I wasn't like, you know, which I am now, which is like, you know, I didn't want to have sex. Like, I didn't want to be intimate. And I just think that like, okay, that's just not who I am. Like, and like brushed it off, that, you know, just shopped a lot. Like I remember my brother said to me once, like, you know, that like the shopping is like filling this hole. And I was like, oh my, what you're talking about. Shut up, you know? But, you know, in retrospect, I realized he's right. But so there was just something missing with us that I wasn't willing to really look at, back to being an avoider. You know, it permeates everywhere, right? And, you know, it would take a lot of years. And there were definitely times, and we were married for 16, 17 years. And there were times in the marriage where I did try to be like, I think maybe we should not be together, but we had kids. And so, you know, he was very much like, we should stay together because we have these little kids. And I was like, you're right, you know? And so I kind of always just like, no, let me do this. And, you know, like, you know, I was really close to my mom, and my mom really loved Cam, and Cam's like a great guy, like nothing bad to say about him. He's a great father. He's a really good guy. We're still very friendly and whatever. And my mom really adored Cameron. And, you know, it wasn't until my mom got sick. My mom died of lung cancer like about 6 years ago. And like on her deathbed was like, don't leave Cam. Like she knew that I was unhappy. It was just always there. And you know, my mom, God bless her. I think she like knew that I was going to, that I wanted to, you know? But I think when she died, it like released something in me. And, you know, there's a lot of other things that led up to me ultimately deciding to take the plunge and like, I needed to do this. But, you know, had I known what would lie ahead in terms of like the turmoil and like the ultimate like deep depression I fell into, because so what happened was like we decided to end the marriage. We were still in this business together. You know, our main office of Drybar was in Orange County, but Cam and I had opened a like satellite office in LA, and I shared this creative office with him, which was like PR, marketing, creative, and mostly his team of creative people. And I couldn't go there anymore.
Yeah.
And I like my identity was really starting to become in question. And, I was already starting to kind of make my way out a little bit of Drybar. And so I wasn't in the main office anymore. I was kind of just felt like I was like free falling or
Right.
floating.
Right.
Our marriage had ended. At that time, he wasn't really talking to me and we were like at odds.
It was fresh.
So yeah, it was fresh. And it, it was incredibly painful. And, I struggled because I was like, I wanted this. Like, why am I so upset? Why am I so sad? But, I was on a show and like, it was like an energy healer who said, you may not like be in love with your husband anymore, but there's basically a hole, a space that he filled that is no longer being filled.
This makes
And
sense.
just like the person you talk to every day, the person you parent with,
Right.
There's like a big gaping hole where that person
Yeah.
was. And so now I was like a single parent and I was like having to navigate all this stuff. And my older son, kind of started going off the rails. He would end up going to rehab for 2 years and he's good now.
Yeah.
He's a football game tonight and like everything's good.
Awesome.
But it was rough for a
Yeah.
while. And and ultimately I now now I know Cam and we've had conversations.
Yeah.
He's grateful that we ended our relationship and that we both are doing our own things. But it was incredibly painful and it was like I felt really stuck and stifled. And I did before we came on it, we were talking about how I just thought I wasn't the kind of person that like needed a romantic, intimate relationship. And I just thought that's
Yeah.
and that's cool, And then when I met Adrian, I was like, oh, no way. And I'm like, I mean, and he's like, he's really the love of my life. And I'm like, I can't like get enough of him.
Right.
Like I just want to like touch him and hug him and all the other stuff all the time.
It's so cool. I feel like I'm mirroring you, like in my life, same thing, got married younger. I thought like, oh, I'm just an alpha female.
Yeah.
I'm a business girl. Like, I don't need all that.
Right.
I suppress
and like
all of it.
It's like Cam, again, such a great guy. And I really like, I have nothing bad to say about him. But he was more like metro and he was just like, and like Adrian is this very manly man and he's, very chivalrous. And he, in our first conversation, he said something to me like, it's always better when he says it because I mess it up, but something to the effect of like, you have such a big personality, you live this big life, and you at the end of the day you need somebody that you can like fall into and take care of you at the end of the day. And I was like, and I didn't know that. Like, I didn't those like words like that. I was like, I would never have thought I even needed that. But then I was like, that is what I want. I want somebody who takes care of me because we have big lives and big personalities, and we're out there being big.
Yeah,
it's like we want. And what he said was a soft place to land.
Yeah,
a soft place to land.
Yeah,
and oh, did that resonate with me? It's like I was like, yes. And we, I am a big personality and it is sometimes annoying to him, but but he is ultimately that like soft place for me to land where I feel like I can just, be like, I mean, I also wasn't very affectionate as a human with my friends, with anybody. It was like, I was very guarded. I was like, keep your distance from me. And, with him, I'm like constantly touching him all over him all the time. Like, well, where is he from?
How did you like open up? Was it just, did your souls just gravitate? And because he held such a strong space, it allowed you to kind of just simmer down as a powerful woman?
Such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I think yes. But I do think, like, you mentioned softening, which I think I did. And my brother, like, affectionately refers to me as Alli 2.0 now because of, like, like I was saying, I was very tightly wound. I was very mad all the time. I was just, like, tight grip on life. And when the divorce happened and I felt this, like, huge loss that caused a lot of depression and sadness for me that I never dealt with. I think it was a little wrapped up in my mom's death, too.
It's a lot.
Push that away.
Yeah.
And so there was all this stuff that was like the floodgates kind of open. And I think and then my son, like, you know, I mean, I can't really talk about it without getting emotional, but like fighting for his life, you know, it was like, it was crazy. And I think all of that, I mean, have you read you probably have, there's a book called Broken Open by, what's her name? Pemja. I'll send it to you.
Yes, please.
But it was like this, just like everything opened and everything fell apart. Like everything fell
All
apart
at once.
all at once. Like from like the Drybar stuff, my marriage, my son, and it was like when you go through something like that, you just change.
You
and
do.
become so much softer as a person. At least that's what happened to me.
Uh-huh.
Where I was just like, shit, like I let go of the grip, and I did a lot of work on myself.
Yeah.
I went to like On Site, which is this place outside of Nashville where you go for like 6 days and they take your phone and you just like intensive therapy.
Amazing.
It's
Wow.
the greatest thing. Which is an organization doing a lot of great things around gun violence and whatever.
Awesome.
But, yeah, and so you know, it was like a healing and softening phase for me. So I think by the time I met Adrian, I had already softened quite a bit. But it was, you know, our first phone call was like 5 hours long, maybe even longer. And, you know, I told him all about Drybar,
Right.
things I told you. And, you know, and I do have this side of me that's very strong and driven. And, you know, I can be very, you know,
Yeah.
focused on whatever I'm doing. But the balance and the thing that was missing for me for so much of my life was that, you know, counterpart to all of that, which was this soft place to land.
Yeah.
And Adrian. So
That's so beautiful.
my kids, by the way, adore him too.
Yeah.
He's so different than their dad, and they get so much, you know, greatness from their dad, and now they have this other man in their life that is like
So cool.
you know, is also really great. So
And so you got married.
and I got married.
Oh my,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Yeah, and it's fun to you know, maybe if you get married again, it's fun to plan your second wedding because it's like exactly how you want it.
Yes.
I mean, my first wedding was a lot of like the way my parents wanted
Totally. Yes.
When I wore a pink dress, like I was like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And it was perfect.
Where was the wedding?
In Solvang, and like kind of up near Santa Barbara.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So good.
So yeah.
So what's
What now?
Yeah, what now, lady? Because I know your type. You don't just like lay in bed all day.
No.
And,
well, it's funny.
Or maybe, I don't know.
No, I don't. I mean, now we have 4 kids between.
Wow.
So there's not, sadly, enough time for laying in bed. Although I am that girl that like if I can get in bed by 9, I'm really happy.
Same.
I love being in my bed. I love watching TV. Like, please. But during the day, I'm pretty driven. And, you know, we've started another company called Squeeze, which is a massage concept. And it's the same founding team as Drybar. We took Brittany Driscoll, who was our old head of marketing at Drybar. She's the CEO and our co-founder.
Okay.
And she's done incredible things. I mean, that business is about to explode. Maybe by the time this airs, there is so much happening. We decided to take it into a completely franchise model instead of, which Drybar was like a little bit of both. And we've sold 50 franchises in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And the thing about Squeeze, it is a massage concept. It's brick and mortar, but everything is based on the app. So you book on the app, you tip on the app.
Just love this. Okay, I'm already a client.
It's all on the app. So you like oil or lotion, or you like the bed heated or not heated, or you know, I mean, like the temperature in the room, the music, the oils, like everything is so customized. So, you know, Brittany's just done an incredible job.
And they come to the house?
No,
you go there. But you just pre-book it all.
You pre-book it with
so you can just go in incognito and just go in. And then it's all there.
And then when you leave, and there's also like when you lay in the bed, there's like a little button that you press so the therapist knows that you're ready, instead of like having to like do the mad scramble around naked. But when you're done, you know, you just walk out. There's no checkout. There's no check in or check out. So you're just, because you do it all on the app, it's just
easy.
Yeah. So you know, it's like you say, you walk in and float out because you don't have to deal with like what you normally have to do in any kind of spot.
Yeah. I'm like trying to find the money, and I'm drooling, my mascara is on my face.
You know,
right.
You're in this like Zen state.
Right.
And now you have to be like, oh, I have to like, do you have my points, or do you know, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's been really exciting to watch that. And then, you know, I took on this role as the president of Canopy, which I feel like it's a newer brand, so a lot of people don't know about it, but Canopy are humidifiers, which also seemed like a weird stretch for me.
Right.
It's actually not, because what I learned very early on when I discovered this company was that, having a humidifier going next to your bed is incredibly good for your skin.
Ooh.
Because it's hydrating to your skin. So
Okay.
it's like this beauty hack that most women don't know about.
No.
What do you mean? I didn't know.
No.
A dermatologist will tell you it kind of like hides fine lines and wrinkles, because you see fine lines and wrinkles when your skin is dry.
This makes sense.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You look at people who live in like South Florida or Nicaragua or somewhere that's like very humid. They just look better and younger because their skin is hydrated.
It's so true.
So, and your makeup adheres better, like skincare works better if your skin is hydrated instead of dry and porous. So I learned about this. It also affects your scalp, which is part of your skin, and your hair.
Oh.
So I'm like, shit, this is amazing. And so I have like 15 humidifiers in my house because I know how good they are. And I noticed, like, my hair like started to grow more. It's more healthy. My skin looks and feels better. And I was like, this is amazing. Why don't more people know about this? So I joined as the president to really like help this cause. And, the business has been really like on fire the last, like, I came in when they were just about a year old. They had an incredible year through the pandemic. Now we're in Sephora. I don't know if it's public yet, but we're about to go into Blue Mercury. We're, working on that business and have a really strong D2C business. And, there's just such an incredible runway, because the other thing about the Canopy is, and I'll send you one.
I'm so excited. I'm like going to share this with the world. Like, this is such
because they look, and I'll show you, which is on Instagram or whatever, they look really chic. They're not blue and medical and ugly.
Yeah.
If you ask anybody, and you can ask anybody, everybody has a humidifier story, whether they got it because they were sick or they had a baby. Those are like the two main.
Totally.
But they're blue, they get moldy, they're gross.
Yeah.
People throw them away. What these guys did that was so brilliant is they developed this humidifier that all you have to do is really like change a filter every 6 weeks. And you see when you take the filter out, because you don't need to put filtered water into it. When you take this filter out, it has like all the crap that was in your water, but that's really the only cleaning element. It has like an LED light in it, so it will run till it's bone dry. So there'll never be water pooling in it, collect mold, which is what most humidifiers, which is crazy that humidifiers have been around and it's this multi-billion-dollar business, but people buy them and then they throw them away.
Right.
So it's just so crazy. It's like one of those things that, like, why hasn't anybody fixed this sooner?
Yeah.
So they made this really cute one. It looks good in your house and it works really well, and it's a beauty hack.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I'm in. Let's make.
I mean, this makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Like, if you really think about it, you're like, duh.
Yeah, it is such a basic thing, and that's why, like, I came aboard. I'm like, we just need to get the word out to more women. And it's interesting that you heard about me on Lauren's podcast, and Lauren has her own Canopy that is like this very Lauren one, like pink and like and cool, and it's like her branded one. Because before Canopy, she would like say, you guys have to have a humidifier, because she's all about skin and and that's her thing. And so she has her own Lauren Bosted Canopy.
So cool. Oh my gosh, I love this. What makes your heart burn? Like what?
Like bad or good?
Good. Like what are you, like what's driving you today?
It's funny. I am, I've gotten on board with these different things, and we've started these businesses, and I get courted a lot to come and help other people grow their businesses.
Sure.
And I'm actually in the throes of talking to this new company that I'm really excited, that actually like regrows hair, which is pretty crazy. I mean, and Adrian's like the perfect test case, because he was balding, and my ex-husband is bald, and I was like, I'm not bald again. Like, I need this guy to have it.
Yeah.
And Adrian's hair was like really he was starting to lose like this hair on top.
Yeah. And
he got an ad from this company called Happy Head, and he was like, let me just give it a try. It's like a topical treatment. You have to talk to a doctor before you get it, but it's like a prescription. And he started using it a year before we got married. And if you could see what his hair looked like then to what it looks like now, it's
oh, really?
He's got like a full head of hair now. It's insane. And so anyways, we got connected to the founders, and we've been talking to them, and I'm talking to them about doing some work with them, which I haven't ever talked about publicly.
Yeah.
It's really new.
Yeah.
There's nothing set yet, but I'm like, it's like, what could be better? And
Right.
such a hair girl, and like,
Yeah.
and what I've noticed is that like a lot of my friends, I'm in my 40s, and all of my friends are too, and they're all like their hair's thinning. There's like there's a lot of like
COVID made a lot
stress and
a
all that.
lot of people
Yeah.
losing hair.
So I think there's a really big opportunity in that, like, 40 plus category
Yeah.
of women who are like their hair is changing, our hair is changing,
Yeah.
So it's exciting. And so, to answer your question, I want to do everything, and I
Yeah.
was talking to somebody, and I'm exploring a lot of different options, from like whether it would be like to get involved in a fund or something, because like I want to give everybody my money.
Yeah.
I have so many investments and so many little investments
Yeah.
in a lot of businesses, because there's just so many businesses I believe in.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out how to harness all of that.
Yeah.
Right now is kind of where I'm at, where
Yeah.
I can like have a very like high level involvement without having to be like in the
Yeah.
is doing like the hard
Totally.
because I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I did that.
You paid your
I
dues.
paid my dues. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out like the sweet spot for me. And then, I have my second book that's coming out next
Yeah.
year. So I've been working
Yeah.
on that. And then I have a couple other like little projects in the
Yeah.
works, like in like the TV space that I'm thinking about. So who knows? Like,
Yeah.
in 6 months, it'll be, I'm sure, a lot
Yeah.
of stuff going on.
Yeah. What's the book? Little cliff notes.
So the book it's basically a memoir with like, my whole story, a lot of what we touched on today, but then with a lot of like business takeaways,
Oh.
and, like entrepreneurial, like, the entrepreneurial journey, and like
Yeah.
lessons of that, and
Yeah.
life lessons, it'll be chock full of
Yeah.
good, juicy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
I'm working on a website,
Okay.
which will just be alliwebb.com. But until then, probably my Instagram is the best.
Yeah.
Because that's how you found me.
Yeah.
Alli Webb. It's ALLIWEBB.
Awesome. Thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you.
Like truly, you're a breath of fresh air, woman.
Thank you.
You are, and I will follow you till the end.
Oh, you're so
And so I'm super excited and really fortunate to have you here. So
much.
thank you, everyone. And you can find everything we mentioned in the show notes.